right when you said, scheduling things with your family and family conversations can get derailed, part of me thought back to, well, hold on, this is my family. My family is not a business deal. My family is not a business. What would you say to somebody watching this video right now saying, well, hold on, no, my family, they should understand if maybe I get derailed and I'm not as prepared as I would be in business. They might understand because they're my family. That if I'm late, well, I'm late because, and this is huge for so many people, because I had a meeting and my business meeting ran late. My business pays the bills. My job keeps a roof over our head. I know I've been there, and I made a conscious effort a few years ago to be at as many of my children's events in school as possible. But there was a point in time where my office was an hour away from their school. I was physically unable to be there. And I've missed so many of these beautiful, precious moments. And, like our mutual friend, Brian Byros, says, you can't miss those moments. What would be the first thought that comes to your mind for parents possibly thinking on that level at this moment?
Well, I got to say that this is something that I've also encountered. Well, I've experienced it myself, and then 3 years ago, when my son was about to turn 10, I started a father-son program, and the objective is to help our boys make the transition from being a young boy or a boy to a young man to a man. And so I had some experience a long time ago. In the early 90s, I worked for the YMCA, and one of the great opportunities I had there was to run a parent-child program. And so I had some experience there. And so the first thing I did is I sent an email out to all the dads in my son's, let me think, it was his fifth grade class at the time. And he was about to turn 10. And so I sent an email out saying, hey, I'd like to start this father-son program. We'll get together once a month. And right now what we'll do is we'll have fun together, and then we'll start to work on rites of passage work as the boys get older and move into teen years. Well, I thought, Dan, that all the dads in the class would say yes to this. Out of all the dads in the class, there were three other dads who said yes. The other dads said, wow, sounds like a great idea. I don't have time for that. And we're talking once a month, dedicated time for you and one of your children. And so some of these things take place during a weeknight or a weekend. So for example, this Saturday, we're going to be going on a ropes course together and using that to talk about the journey and going through something difficult and being able to overcome something that is a real challenge in your life, and exceeding expectations and doing this in community, in a supportive community. Great opportunity. And when I tell other dads about this, it's shocking how many say, wow, that's a great thing, but I just don't have time for that. And I think that's the first thing I think of when I hear that there's two things. One is that people can be so busy with things, and yet if you ask them what's most important in their life, they're going to say their kids, and spending time with their kids. Generally, this is what I hear, and yet their schedule is so full that they can't allow for this type of thing. So I think that the answer is that, at least the answer for me is, what is most important? So in order to be able to do something like this, to be able to dedicate time, is that I've got to give up other things. is
Mm.
that, my schedule is full just like a lot of other people. And yet, I've placed this at such a high priority. My son is 13 now, and I'm telling you, it just is going by so quick that um, I've placed it on a high priority list. And so other things get knocked off the bottom that I just don't have time for. But I'm placing my time with my son at a pretty high level. So, yeah, I don't get to go to everything. I missed a soccer game yesterday that my son was in, and he had a great time. I missed it because it was during a work period where uh, I had things to do here, and yet there are things that I also do, like I volunteer at my kid's school and teach team and leadership development once a week. Um, I'm there almost every single Friday morning at the school working with seventh and eighth grade boys teaching team and leadership development. And so does that make it hard? It does. So I've missed some other things. I've turned, I look at my calendar and it's like you and I today are doing this in the morning today, Thursday, because tomorrow I know where I'm going to be. So I have to arrange my schedule. And yes, it's hard. And yet this is going to be such a fleeting moment, I think. So like Brian Byro, we're both good friends with him, is that this is that moment that I'm choosing to really embrace compared to other things. Some people, it can be even TV or um, going for a bike ride by yourself as opposed to going with my daughter, for example, who rides a little bit slower. She's 8 years old, and yet I'm going to ride my bike with her. I may not get the level of intensity on the ride, but I'll be able to spend time with her. So I hope that addresses some of what you're asking.